Hey, Jeff from Earthwalker. I'm on a remote national preserve island on the Yucatan Peninsula. You know, when I come to these places, I'm always thinking about training. I'm always thinking about the survival order. How would I utilize the resources in such an environment? Right now it's raining. It's a light rain. There's not a whole lot of wind, so it's not too intense. But eventually, and sooner than later, you'd need shelter. The survival order always applies: shelter, water, fire, food. So I would need to protect myself from the radiant heat of the sun and or the rain, because eventually it would just sap my energy and I would tank. In the rainforest, it's wise to get off the forest floor. Use lashing to support the weight of your structure, and take the time to build a sufficient roof that protects you from the elements. Eventually I'd need to find fresh water, so how could I contain this water here? What resources would I have for water? Well, there's some coconuts up there. Here's an example of some more mature coconuts just ready to be harvested. There's gonna be a lot of water and resources in those guys. The greener they are, green or yellow, the more water they're gonna actually have. And so that's a resource, that's an advantage. The browner they are, the more meat they're gonna have. Coconuts also make an excellent water container. You can channel water into the containers and transport and store water. So how could I eventually create fire out here? That would be tricky. I'd utilize the palm for tinder. Palm biomass makes excellent tinder. Fire by friction hand drill could be utilized to make a sustaining fire. You'd have to scout out the island for just the right resources. A wood that is softer with just the right grain structure would be ideal. You'd most definitely have to practice and have mastered this skill before you enter the field. But once you have fire, you have protection, you have the ability to cook, to purify water, to signal, and even psychological security. It's an invaluable resource. Eventually, how would I create calories? How would I harvest calories? Well, there's this guy over here. Let me show you. Saw him as a resource. There's some wild chicken right there. Worst case scenario, I could resource that guy. You have to harvest energy to have energy. That's just the way of life. So tune in and open your eyes, or you just become part of the soil. Otherwise, I'd have to go out into the ocean and dive, make some traps, make some spears. Improvising cutting edges is a fundamental skill that must be practiced. These cutting edges can create all kinds of hunting tools and help with your strategy for harvesting meat. As far as food goes, sometimes you don't have to go far from the shore. I found this guy right at my feet. And inside there's a good, decent meal in there, a nice mussel. You can see his eyes. So I'm always thinking like this: shelter, water, fire, food. That's a survival order. So we were swimming here, and right there is a crocodile. One final survival tip: don't put yourself on the food chain. So, hasta la vista from the Yucatan Peninsula. Earthwalker signing out.